What is buffer time? What is buffer time? Is what buffer time?
We're having some good timing to buffer here. It's Sunday. We're going to talk about some Discovery this week. Face the Strange. Before we get into that, let's introduce ourselves. I'm Dustin from Best of Trek, Worst of Trek.
I'm Scott from Opinions No One Cares About.
I'm Ren from Ren Rants.
Hi, I'm Del and I'm the time bug.
It's your fault.
It's all my fault.
Always. All right. Well, for once, we don't have a pile of news. That's both good and not so good. So we'll jump right into it. Let's start at the end.
Can I actually wait before we move on? I've heard more than one report that in the UK, Paramount is starting to strip episodes of the older series. Like they were in the middle of a watch of, I can't remember, it was either Next Generation or Enterprise. And they said they went back the next day and some of the episodes were missing. So I would bring that up as a sort of remember Prodigy moment where, you know, it might be good if your collection's a little low on hard media, that this may be a good time, especially with all the stuff that's going on with Paramount. It might be a good time to invest in some hard copy.
I've had issues before where either sometimes literally an episode won't show up that I know is supposed to be there, or you go to one and you get an error. So,
yep.
But I hear specifically this is a problem in the UK right now.
Mm-hmm. So I would lean more towards the like a bug in the system or something on that one for now.
Yeah.
Till we hear a little bit more. But thanks for the update. Cool. Let's jump right to the friggin' end. Is Raynor more likable by the end of this episode?
I'm not ready to put him in the Shaw category yet.
Yeah,
he grew on me. I liked it. I liked seeing him connect a little bit more and soften up. And I also liked how he and Burnham kind of like mirrored each other, where like we saw the like, you know, tense Burnham of like Discovery's early era contrasted with our much looser, like more sure of herself Burnham. And I think it's kind of like at the start of the episode, and for the first couple episodes, we have like tense Shaw. And now he's starting to kind of like relax a little and get to know people more and have a little, like, let himself have some fun. And yeah, I thought it was cute. It's nice.
Yeah, you're never too old to learn a few new tricks.
Yeah, Norman, Shattered is definitely the biggest callback in this episode overall. The biggest difference, I would say, is that Janeway and Chakotay were already cool by the seventh season. Here, this is an exercise in giving Raynor a chance to be less of a dick, pretty much. I'm not convinced that he shed his dickishness completely. We'll have to wait and see.
I think also, even though I'm not yet ready to redeem him completely, I do think he's a really good counterpoint to Burnham, where Burnham is the one that's going to be like, let's fly over there and get ourselves involved right away. And Raynor might be like, let's strategize first. Or like, maybe we need to think of this more pragmatically. So I do think there's some yin and yang involved here.
Yeah, he definitely had to do some learning, though, because he's talking about how... what was it? He's talking about how many times he would have been dead if he'd actually listened to his crew. And like, dude, sometimes you gotta listen to your crew. You might be the captain. It doesn't mean you're always going to have all the answers.
Oh my god. That bit where Burnham's like, you're on my ship, you have to do things my way. And he's like, well, what if my way's better? It's like, bro,
Doesn't
what got
matter.
you
Chain
here?
of command.
The chain I'll go get and beat you with to remind you who's in Rutten command here.
You're muted, Del.
No.
Oh, never mind. Then. Okay.
Yeah.
Never mind.
You got something now?
No, I said never mind.
Okay. Yeah, I I think it's nice. I think okay, we've done some steps, but I think we've got to see more to really know where Raynor's at. I hope it worked. I hope it gets him to that point where he's admitting he's just a dickhead from Chicago.
I fully believe he will still have a speech like that. I was just off on which episode it was going to be.
So, from this scene right here, this is right in the beginning of the episode after they've come off the bridge. And this is a problem I have noticed this season in general. Does nobody walk anywhere in the 32nd century? This is literally in the next room. How do you feel about transporting everywhere, including into the next room?
I hate it.
On the one hand, like it can offer like a little bit of drama. I don't know why. Lately, I've been thinking about somebody posted something about how satisfying it used to be back in the day. If you're on a phone call with someone, you got mad at them, you could hang the phone up abruptly. So I kind of feel like this is the same thing now. You can just like tell someone off and be like, I'm out.
Can you do that one more time?
Slap my chest one more time?
Yeah.
I'm out.
That's a good sound.
Imagine they like follow you though.
And like if this is the case that they're now using them to go room to room, why are there turbolifts? And why is anyone using them?
Well, just
you could just be like, Deck 7, let's go.
Now, in this episode, at least, it's like, it's part of the plot. This is what puts them outside of time. So, like, okay, great. It's another one of those wibbly-wobbly, timey-wimey things. But, yep, just like your moniker.
They could have been beaming somewhere useful and still had the exact same thing happen.
It's just, it seems like if it hadn't been the first time this season that I've been like, oh, like last week, Saru and Torina's aide, they just beamed one level above them.
Yep.
Like, dude, you couldn't take the stairs? You guys, get your steps in. That's the moral of this episode. Get your steps in.
I also think that maybe it could be used as the idea of like, this conversation needs to happen right now. Like right now. Because in both situations, there was some urgency to...
That's some truth, Windgrace.
Can we please get a Tuvix of Torina and Saru?
God, that would be.
That would make my year, is like having them be so physically intimate that they're in the same body. Like, yes, that would be awesome. I don't even remember what I was saying.
Tuvix has that effect on people.
Yes.
So what Norman's saying here kind of leads me to a question that I had somewhere. Oh yeah, what was Stamets doing, if anything, during the time period where Discovery was destroyed and he's dead? Is he still there?
He's dead?
That's a good question.
You mean the one where they almost did Calypso but didn't?
Yeah, they're only off by what, a century or two?
Yeah.
Yeah, I had that thought.
I don't think we see him in that scene. I think we only see Burnham and
not till after.
Rayner.
Yep. So, like, is he there though, or it's just one of those weird time questions to think?
It
about.
is, because like he's present and aware in every other time period.
That is true. You kind of wonder what he was. You kind of wonder what he was doing when they went back and, you know, like Discovery was in dry dock and still being built. Was Stamets just poking around on Earth? I'm like, what the hell?
Well, I'm sure he's also building a lab, because if they're at the point where they are when it looks in that scene, I definitely think he's setting up his spore garden and like setting up all the different equipment for the spore drive. Like, I'm positive he's there at that point.
Yeah, I think I remember in season 1 they said that it took him years to grow that first crop of mushrooms. So he was somewhere working on that probably at this point.
But did he know what happened, or is he just like, have I been around these spores too often?
Yeah.
I really did like the scene with Reno where she calls him out like, "Are you currently stuck in a time loop?"
Right.
And then she's just joking, but like she hit it on the head, and like that. I think they could have taken that a little further.
Yeah, I almost wish she wasn't joking and like actually figured it out. That would have just been really funny, especially because they would have been gone so quick again anyway.
That's what I was laughing at.
There it is. Yep. All right. So here's one that's just more of a nitpick. Was it a missed opportunity to not get Lorca back for even one scene?
I know.
A little bit, yeah.
Would have also been cool to like see Giorgio.
Very true.
Yeah.
I don't think Seska would have worked though. When Norman is suggesting Seska. I think that's a great character to pick.
I kind of want it now.
Now I'm like, I want to know what's going on the Kazon ship where she's got like 50 Kazon babies.
Yeah, like have her like Kazon child show up. That would be
Yes.
secret family.
Oh God, that would be.
As
I said, that would make a great like Prodigy storyline. Revisit like now he's older and like he's out for revenge from Janeway or some shit. You killed my mom.
I don't know the name of the episode because I don't know the name of any episode, but the one where it starts out and it's TNG, starts up with like Riker and Crusher and Data and I think Geordi playing poker.
Cause and effect.
And then
cause and effect.
Then they basically begin to learn that they're going around in a time loop that ends with the Enterprise exploding.
It's one of my favorites.
Yeah, I had that feeling too a little bit here, and I had wished that if the crew had been able to catch on after a little bit and understand what was happening, even if it was just, this happened, 6 hours ago or 5 minutes ago or whatever. Just make them a little bit more aware so that it wasn't such a hard job and not quite so life-threatening to Michael going on the bridge. So, yeah.
As to Gannon's question, we talked about this a little bit in our Discord chat. I say no, and here's why.
Really?
Think about it. I mean, at first you're like, well, yeah, why not just build it in space? Well, think about it at this point in time, especially in the 23rd century, where you don't have replicator technology. So you're fabricating everything like at an industrial level. You've either got to make a shitload of small ascents into orbit to bring stuff and put it together, or you put it together on the ground, and as long as it's an in-atmosphere takeoff vehicle, just make one big lift after it's almost done and do all your finishing parts at like McKinley Station or Space Dock or whatever.
Yeah, they were kind of paying homage to that in the reboot with the Kelvin verse where Kirk pulls up on a motorcycle and, oh, they're building my future starship in my backyard.
And this shot right here, it's almost the same angle on the Golden Gate as the last episode of Prodigy, where you see that new Protostar class in a hangar there. It's the San Francisco Fleet Yard.
Right.
Yep.
Yeah.
Right. Did Burnham's proof of being from the future toward Arium make any sense whatsoever?
No.
I'm from the future, and I know because you're going to die.
I know. The thing is, if someone was like, I need you to figure something, like, I need you to do this really weird thing, so I'm going to tell you how you're going to die, and have me go, oh, that makes perfect sense. Let me go do this crazy, illegal, possibly very dangerous thing. I don't think that would work on me. And the fact that, like, there's a lot of details missing in that story, and Arium just likes to fill in the blanks, I guess. Like, obviously, Michael can't go into details because whatever the temporal, whatever. But I feel like it just seemed, the conversation seemed empty to me. And then all of a sudden, Arium's like, wait a minute, I would do that. That's great. So what does that have to do with this?
I feel like there's 1,000 little things she should have been able to tell anybody on that bridge that would have made more sense.
I mean, they made a whole Oh, sorry, go ahead.
No, go ahead. Finish. Go ahead.
They made a whole big thing about how Ariam like saves all of her memories, and Burnham now like knows who she saves all of her memories of. Like, there's so many little like from that one episode where Ariam got to be a character. There's so many things she could have used, and instead she does that weird future prediction. It's so strange.
Out of all the characters they could have brought back, I if they were going to bring back just one, it was nice to get Ariam. It's too bad we didn't get the chick that played Nilsson back at all, but we did get Hannah Cheesebro, who played Ariam in season 2.
What was? Well, I don't remember the character's name because I'm a terrible, awful person. Barzan.
Oh
no!
Yeah, it would have been good to see her too.
That would have been nice too, especially that would have created a really interesting tension, since I believe they were security, right?
Yep.
And so have Michael run into like literal security and see how they get out of that.
And given that it's a show in production, there's no reason they shouldn't have had Pike for just one scene.
Yeah.
I can understand not getting Lorca back. You know, you got to recontract somebody. He's already, I think he's in another Paramount show.
Oh,
or at least he was for a while. He was like in some kind of like ER like thing. He was a doctor. Didn't watch it.
I guess that's probably the same reason they couldn't get Michelle Yeoh back. Also, I bet they don't have Michelle Yeoh money anymore.
Yeah.
No, according to a press conference I watched with Michelle Yeoh, she said that if Star Trek calls, she will always answer because she loves this character so much. And she basically alluded to, I am not asking for Academy Award-winning salaries in this case. So I'm hoping that's like gonna come true further on the line after Section 31, because I would love to see a short track or long track or a mother track about what happens when she goes through the Guardian of Time, the Glowy portal, and goes back in time. I would love to see just a taste of what that is.
Yeah, I think that's what we're getting with Section 31. All right. I just wanted to touch on one more point related to this. Not with Ariam, but there could have been an easy callback to Magic to make the Sanus Man go mad here in engineering, where Stamets could have just told her the thing like, "Oh, you've never loved anyone," and that should have been like, "Oh, okay, you got me." Even though that this Burnham, I think, is a little before that episode, that should have still been like a thing. Yeah. That's a thing about her. All right.
No, I probably don't remember.
Was the fight scene between the Burnhams realistic?
I liked it.
And did it make sense?
I'm not a big fight scene person, but I really enjoyed this fight. I think maybe because the sort of the martial artness of it all.
Yeah.
But it like bridged on like almost matrixy, like they do that quarter turn with the dolly camera. You know, like they're basically trying to reference that sort of thing, the way it was shot and how clean the fight was. There's no like wrestling or like body checking. They're within arm's reach and they're just working their hands and fists and feet. And I thought it was shot really well, and for someone who doesn't like fight scenes, I really liked this one.
It was pretty good, yeah.
Go ahead, Scott.
I think I could kind of thought like, yeah, this is probably going to happen at some point. And then while it was going on, I'm thinking, shouldn't they be like so evenly matched that no one can really win?
I mean, our future Burnham has had a lot more time to gather experience with like different fighting techniques from her like year of courier lifestyle and all of the stuff she's had to do with Discovery since then. And I think part of it's also like she's on a mission, whereas past Burnham is just like intruder alert. Although it's weird that she doesn't like call an intruder alert to the computer when you think about it.
Right.
Yeah.
I thought Burnham and the reactions we saw from past Burnham felt more like Mirror Universe Burnham. I don't know why, but like I think partially I'm gonna jump to violence. But yeah, it really reminded me more of Mirror Universe Burnham than in Prime Burnham.
Right.
Feels like
Oh, is
season
that
one
why
Burnham to
Non
me.
wasn't there?
I really
I'm sorry, I
liked
just had-
how. Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
Yeah, we
No,
never did see a
I'm not way
season
off topic. Go ahead.
2 version. Oh, I guess we did on the space battle.
I liked how noticeably different the characterizations between the two Burnhams were, because it is interesting to just see a character that's grown as much as Michael like go back to the beginning like that. And I feel like it's interesting that they made this episode not knowing that this was going to be the last season, because it feels like such a good little episode to have in a final season to like really bring all of Burnham's arc like full circle and just drive home like how far she's come.
This is true.
Norman, I would add Boimler to your list.
And Picard.
Did Picard? Yeah, that's true. He
And Squared.
yeah.
Oh, and Seven.
Oh yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Now
I'm only listing captains, but yeah, that.
Oh,
yep,
sorry.
that all checks out. That all checks out.
Yeah.
Listen, if we get Legacy, then I'll still be right.
Do we count Spock?
If you get enough seasons of Trek, you will meet yourself. That is a guaranteed plot point. Yeah, I thought this was shot really well. There wasn't like 1,000 cuts in the fight scene, and I couldn't tell that they were using body doubles or anything. It was really done well.
Very seamless.
Mm-hmm.
Now, here's an interesting thing that happened. Do you think the little bit of the future that they saw is the nod to Calypso that we were promised this season, or do you think we'll get some more that will tie back to that short trek?
Unless they like end the whole thing with the crew having to take off and do something, I don't think it's going to get much closer to Calypso. Because I feel like that's the only thing that explains it. The entire crew had to leave for some reason, and they didn't come back.
Well, I liked sort of the handy explanation that this future was the one in which Mull and Locke get the progenitor technology. I wish, I'm because it was written in the past, but in my mind, I wish there had been a more direct, like even if she just talked about how lonely she was and like how she really wished that maybe Burnham could stay and be a companion or that would have made it more Calypso to me.
Mm-hmm.
Also, because they said it's only 30 years in the future. And I believe in Calypso, it's been much longer than that.
Yeah, it's said that it was, I think, 800 years, but that we don't know if that 800 years starts from, where Discovery was when we saw that in the 23rd century or now. I actually don't think that's what it is. If it is, I think what Calypso is then is just this tiny little piece that we got here where Zora's like, was I dreaming again?
Yeah.
It might be alluding to Calypso completely being dreamed by Zora.
Del has
I
had
think you're like me now, Dustin. That's a conspiracy.
But that's not what I think that's one possibility, but what I actually think is going to happen, I don't think this is the Calypso reference. I think we're going to go back in time. I've talked about this before, but I think we're going to go back in time at some point in this season, like the whole ship, the whole crew. Because we know that there's something about the mirror universe is going to pop up, but you can't go to the mirror universe from the 32nd century. You've got to go back to when it's closer. So I think they're going to go back, but whatever way they go home to the 32nd century won't involve the ship, and they'll have to leave the ship somewhere. And Zora's just, chilling for 800 years. That
makes sense. Yeah.
That's
I really
so
like that
good.
theory.
It's so sad.
I hope so. That would
beyond the
really
reach of
pull this
Starfleet.
season together.
Yeah, I guess, but
But given Disco's,
they're beyond the reach of Starfleet, and And what does this pathway drive do that makes it so much better than the spore drive anyway?
I know. I want them to talk about
Yeah.
that so much. Like if they had made reference to like the slipstream technology, or it's like some other alternate form of travel that we've heard of before, then that would have been better. But why didn't they invent it during the burn? Why is it brand new now?
Well, they've got more. Well, you got to think now they have more time to just do research and exploration and all the things that the Federation wants to do. They were just in like safe mode, basically, getting through day to day with the burn. So it kind of makes sense on that level. I get like, yeah, they needed new ways to get dilithium or to replace dilithium or stretch it, but they didn't have the resources to devote at that time either.
That makes sense.
Right.
Was the scene between Adira and Gray a little contrived?
I liked it.
I guess I came up with this because like they, just broke up in the last episode, and then one of the very first things in their conversation when it goes to Adira is, I'm just so glad that we're still such good friends. I'm like, okay, I mean, you don't have to blatantly state, we know. I mean, Adira had Gray inside them for like that for quite a while. Pretty sure they're still friends.
Well, they had to create a scene with Adira so we could see the bug, because it was planted on Adira originally. And so if you're going to have to use Adira in a scene, especially a scene in their quarters, like, I think this is as serviceable as anything else.
I didn't mind it. I also thought it was cute. I'm a sucker for a little bit of like wistful pining, I guess.
Yeah, that's right. I don't really have an opinion one way or another. I hate what they've done to Gray as a whole.
Yeah.
Though I didn't mind the way he was used in last week's episode. So it's nice to see that they've still got some sort of a relationship, even if it's just friendship going forward. Great.
Yeah.
But do you think we'll see him again before the show ends?
Probably not.
We got 6
Yeah,
episodes.
it feels unlikely.
Yeah.
Yeah, I have this weird theory that I think Adira has a little crush on Tilly.
Okay.
I could see it.
Because that was the quote unquote awkward conversation, like right before they went down to the planet, was that she was talking to Tilly and she was like making all the tail wagging noises. Like, I'm really happy talking to this person. So I think that would be really interesting, especially if this is going to move into Starfleet Academy. Like, because there's an age range, not a huge one, but there is. But the authority disparity would be very interesting to me. I don't know if Adira would be a teacher or a student. You don't know. But if she's a student, then that would set up a really interesting dynamic. So I'm kind of secretly hoping they're doing that to tie into Starfleet Academy, rather than just having Tilly as a teacher.
So in that same vein, what about the dude we saw in the first episode that was like talking to Tilly, and it seemed like they kind of had a little thing?
Oh, right.
I wonder if that's just setting this dude up as like, oh, well, he's going to be part of Academy, or if that we'll come back to that in this season at all.
Yeah.
I wonder if there's any more to when Jet's got this awesome high-powered fucking microscope. Jet pointed out in season 4 that like, oh, you got a thing for Detmer to Adira, and Adira's like, no, but I don't know if I think there might be more there than with Tilly, but we'll see.
Yeah.
It's a good theory.
I just want Detmer and Oo to get together already. Like, come on, just give it to me, Paramount. You're taking the show away. Just give me my ship.
Speaking
I want to
of
like
which,
hold
let's
these executives upside down and just like shake them until my ship falls out.
see if I
Am I
can
the only
find
one
this.
that has trouble understanding why we get to the end of the episode and Adira's like, why does it seem like I just blinked and 6 hours passed?
So when the time bug like zaps them back, its whole time in like the prime timeline is still moving, right? So
Yeah.
like I guess it makes sense that they like somehow perceive that missing time in the same way that in that one TNG episode where everyone, the name is not coming to my brain right now, but the one where like the whole crew except for Data gets knocked out and then they wake up and then Data has to like
Worf has a
hide what
broken
happened with
wrist.
the missing hours. So that's kind of like the vibe that I was getting from it.
That's fair.
Oh, I loved
can
the
we
use
talk
of the
about the
Krenim
fact
device,
that
by the way.
the
That
time
was
bug
such a great Voyager callback. I'm obsessed with that. Really good.
Well, that's why I was going to say I love the idea that they named the time bug a Krenim technology.
Yes.
Yep.
I thought
nice going
that
back
was
to the
really
Year of Hell.
interesting because if I recall correctly, the Krenim as a whole was not. It was just that one guy who was like, I want my wife back, so I'm going to keep changing history until my wife doesn't die.
Yeah.
But I could see in the 32nd century having, harnessed that to where it could be that small.
Especially because at the end of the second part of Year of Hell, like he was still working on it, although he somehow omnisciently learned to take a moment to spend some time with his wife.
Right.
So I guess I could believe that the Krenim would like still be developing like temporal technology.
I am always amazed, Dustin, that I could bring up like a random episode and within like 30 seconds you have an image.
It's so impressive. Also, I love Kurtwood Smith.
Oh, yeah.
Yes. He's
so
incredible.
good.
I love that he's kept coming back through Trek.
Yes.
Have we seen him since Veritas in the first season of Lower Decks? I feel like he did one more thing.
That's exactly what I was
it
going
is
to say.
now. And yes, I have a folder full of 17,000 images from almost every episode of Trek. I'm only missing a few, and some of them are named weird. Can't always get just the right thing.
Iconic, honestly.
But yeah, it was nice getting back to the Krenim. But to back up to, we were talking about like shipping OO and stuff. We're getting a Pride comic. This was like the piece of news that I forgot to mention at the beginning of the episode.
This is awesome.
Okay. Oh, I'm so excited.
I think so.
Heck yeah.
I'm not big on the Trek comics, but I am going to get a copy of this one for sure.
Squee. I saw that. I think I saw, maybe I didn't see that image somewhere. I saw a similar one that was just like enthusiastic like Trek Pride representation. So I never would have guessed, like just seeing the image, that that's like an actual comic you can read. I'm so excited.
Okay, back to this episode. What else we got?
Oh, this episode, right.
Why are so many of Trek's best episodes time travel episodes?
I know.
You're muted, Del.
Yeah, a little muted.
Sorry. I think now I have to remember what I was going to say. Damn it. Keep talking, I'll remember.
Time travel is our goal.
Oh, because they simulate bottle episodes. Because they focus on the experience of the people on the ship who are doing this thing. And so it gives us time to put them in situations where they actually have to have conversations and have to sort of not necessarily break rank, but be a little bit more relaxed about it. And so, because I was going to ask, but I didn't put questions in, bad me, if you would consider this episode a bottle episode.
Well, it's like the conversation we were having about filler
Maybe.
episodes. Technically, since this whole season's revolving around a treasure hunt, this could be considered a filler episode, but it's just so much better than that.
Yeah.
It's not a bottle.
To distract everybody.
It's almost a bottle episode, but they went back to get hire other characters. Usually a bottle episode also is just you have bare minimum extras. It's just your main cast. You might have a couple of people that you normally have as extras in the background anyway, and that's it. But they went back and got Hannah Cheesebro and some other folks. So
that makes sense.
And Bryce, we haven't seen Bryce in a minute. That was nice.
Yeah.
So as a follow,
go ahead. Go ahead.
Nope.
I was still like constructing my thought. Go ahead.
I was going to follow up the question with another question. So if you had something.
I was just gonna say that I like the way the time episodes kind of like. It's interesting how they tend to manufacture like a high concept sci-fi problem like every time, but also they somehow manage to make the focus generally on the characters and their experience, kind of like Del pointed out. I think that's just like a really interesting balancing act that it's not that they don't consistently do it in other Trek subgenres, but for some reason the time travel one, they've really just got their little like formula down.
I did hate the Khan episode of Discovery. Like, no, that was Strange New Worlds. When that was the only time travel thing, or I don't know what it was, but I didn't like the episode, and I didn't like this whole vague notion that they just beamed to another universe. Like, I'm not sure, but that's the only time travel episode I can think of that I'm just like, no, just no.
Yeah, I was going to follow that.
Different about like the Time Zero two-parter.
Yeah, I was going to follow up with, so what's everybody's favorite version of time travel? Not necessarily your favorite time travel episode, but what's your favorite way that we've ever gotten from here to back there or ahead?
You might as well ask me to choose between my children.
Do it.
I guess I kind of lean towards those old scientists just because the portal was kind of an interesting plot device to do that, and was something we haven't really seen anything super similar to in time travel episodes that I can think of.
I like the time bug. I have to say, I don't know if it's recent bias, but Slingshot around the sun is the first one I thought of, and I'm like, nah. And trying to remember, like, then there's the portal thingy for City on the Edge of Forever.
Carl.
I love Carl. I love Carl. I want to cosplay as Carl. I really do. But yeah, no, I think I like, and alien. There's some that have alien influences, but I don't know. I like the time bug. I think it's very short, sweet, to the point. You know exactly what it is and what it does.
Mm-hmm. Personally, I've always been a sucker for a good time loop for some reason. This goes across basically all sci-fi. I can run off a list of episodes of other series with good time loops.
The Harry Mudd episode.
Yeah.
Magic to make the Saint Thing.
Yes.
That was
and also cause and effect. But like, there's also some I don't really care about. Aren't there like two different ones in Voyager? I want to say one of them's Coda. I know that, where like some alien poses Janeway's dad. But
that's not really time travel. That's
that's
something different.
Aspect to it, doesn't it?
Near-death experience.
It's like a near-death experience, and he's showing Kathy some different points in her life, but it's not really time travel.
Right.
Yeah, and I'm gonna go with Norman's with Relativity there from Voyager.
Yeah, I love Relativity. I also liked the time shenanigans that got Captain Braxton involved with Voyager in the first place. I'm going to episode names too. Those were really, really solid and very fun.
Yeah. What's that? That's Future's End.
Yes.
I just think it was a little weird that like, oh, we're here in the future in the Delta Quadrant, so you're going to go back to 1996 Los Angeles.
Yeah, that was a little weird. Also, it did create that great sense of like longing though, where the crew is at Earth but they can't stay. Like that was brutal. I did like that, even if it was a little like, what?
I always look at any time travel in any literature, if they come to the present day from somewhere else, that's like lazy writing. Like, oh, I don't want to have to create another situation, so I'm just going to talk about what's outside my window. You know?
So for fun, on the other side of that, what would you consider the worst act of time travel in Trek? What's the dumbest or most boring way that we've time traveled?
Star Trek 4.
Okay. All right.
The one with the whales. Okay.
I love that movie, but like the way that they time travel is dumb.
That's fair.
I thought it was okay. At least they tried to incorporate some science into that one.
Yeah.
You know, and then we came back to it in Picard season 2.
Tomorrow's yesterday. Something they somehow wound up out of control around something called a dark star, and next thing you know, they're in this.
I'm drawing a blank. Some of them are silly, but I just can't like grab onto one that stands out as particularly bad.
Well,
you just remember that like what happened in the episode.
Yeah.
I just know the slingshot around the sun thing is just I'm not even like a real scientific person, but that just seems like bad science. Like someone was like, how do we get them to try? I know, we'll do it the same way Superman did.
Yeah.
To follow up on what Windgrace is saying, not even so much Gary 7 coming, because the way I understand it, he didn't really come back. He was part of that time, just he'd been taken or whatever. But weird. The supervisors in general here with La'an, this fucking dude just shows up out of nowhere. Why is he on the Enterprise? It's never explained. And just like, oh, well, I time traveled here and I guess you can time travel back. Okay. I like this episode. I know some people don't, but the time travel just... In general, it did not do it for me. And in general, I've stopped thinking about the science of time travel in Trek because it just, you either enjoy the plot or you don't.
Yeah, I mean, Trek tends to always play it, like, if we're being generous, fast and loose with the science. So I kind of just, like, sit back and enjoy the ride.
That's fair.
I did like that Strange New Worlds episode, too. And I feel like I'm biased in favor of the time travel just because I really liked that it kind of implied this was either some like prior or future version of the time agents from Relativity and all of those other episodes in Voyager. And it was just nice. It was fun. I can buy that they knew the Enterprise was going to get mixed up in something, so that's why they were there, you know, like... Sure.
Yeah, that sounds like them.
Yeah, you're not wrong there, Windgrace. At least they tied it back to I can't remember the early episode of TOS where Spock had to figure out how to maybe it was Naked Time when he figures out the intermix ratio, and then it was like, might want to file. Kirk even says like, you might want to file that away. That might become useful someday. And then like they reuse that as a thing. It's not great. I agree. They're there. And that's like the only time until I guess the temporal Cold Wars that the Federation just we time traveled for fun, just to see what happened back then. So back on track with this episode, we got a couple more questions. Are they able to take materials with them from other times during this episode? And that is to say, they built this device in one time, but then it's with them in another. So either we missed something or they gathered it all, and I don't know. How did you think that worked?
I thought the need for the handheld communicators was kind of a neat nod to the idea that when they were in the 23rd century, they didn't have the tap-taps. So I think that was interesting as a way of saying, like, you got to use the older technology. You can't just continue to use, because I think in other time travel episodes, like the communicator still worked. So that was interesting to me. So I guess I could see both sides of it, that they either had to reconstruct it again or they just were able to take it. I'm probably more in the camp if they had to build it again.
I feel more like, since it was something built to deal with this particular problem and, it had to deal with time and relativity in general, I'm guessing like time travel wouldn't actually affect it. But I would also refer to what I wrote in the ticker.
Yeah.
That's how it works.
Mr. Frodo. Maybe they just gave it all to Stamets, and he just put it in his little existing out of time pockets.
Yeah,
I guess.
I did like when Stamets told everyone that they had to leave engineering because the spore spilled, and then he turns and says, "I really hope they're not that stupid and think that this is something that could actually happen."
Mushrooms will grow in your lungs.
And then he remembers when they're further back. Yeah, I wasn't always like this. It was the tardigrade stuff that did me. I really used to be a jerk. Dustin, you're muted, by the way.
I know. I was just kind of waiting for everybody. Oh. I thought we had cleared that question twice. All right. The only question I have left, probably should have asked back during Calypso. Is it a little convenient that at first Zora can't recall what happened to wipe out the Federation HQ? Or do you think this is a thing with her being sentient and she repressed it intentionally?
I could see it where Zora could reprogram, like, I'm going to have to use so stupid terms, but like choose which circuits are actually powering her and allowing her to have sentience, but that she can basically say, but you don't get to go play in that corner over there because it was a trauma and I don't want that to be part of my consciousness. I mean, that's what happens to humans a lot of times with trauma, is that they're able to compartmentalize and be like, I'll deal with my trauma in a safe space, but I got to be able to go to work tomorrow. And so it could be something like that, because it's both a little sentimental and a little bit about operational quality. So that's why that's where I'm sitting.
It could be that some of this dust that is apparently everywhere and had me wondering how they're generating so much damn dust on a starship somehow got into the circuits, but seriously.
Yeah, I wondered if the dust had something to do with, like, the attack, and I was like, you guys are just, like, breathing that in, you're gonna be okay? I do wonder if maybe Zora just, like, got damaged in the attack and her memory got damaged, because it was such a devastating attack that it, like, killed everyone on the ship. I could buy that it would damage Zora too.
That does seem most likely.
That's a good theory. Well, that's all the regular questions I have. Do you guys have any questions or any thoughts before we rank this?
Maybe we want to do a side ranking first to put among just Trek episodes about time? Or should we like make that like a whole episode, just time travel episodes?
I'd be down for that. I'd love that.
I think that would be a great
topic.
idea, Scott.
File that away.
Yeah, I think we're going to have quite a few still more open weeks this year.
Yeah.
I don't know how whenever we do get Prodigy, I assume they're going to bring it out in one big block because that's what Netflix does. And not quite sure how we're going to end up reviewing that.
They don't
maybe
always.
Like 2 a week.
There's been a couple of shows that I watched that I'm not going to admit to because they're trashy as shit. But they only come out in 3-episode chunks. So those of you who are watching who watch the same show, you know what I'm talking about.
There's some stuff Yeah, there's
I
some stuff.
used to watching The Circle, and they only come out in 3-episode chunks.
Oh, there's some stuff they do like one episode at a time. I think that's how they did the last. I don't know about the previous season, but like the last season they had of Cobra Kai.
They're doing it with Delicious in Dungeon too, I think. And for a lot of seasons, they're releasing them in half parts, where they release like the first 4 episodes one month and like the next 4 next month. But I don't know if Prodigy's like big enough to warrant that.
I mean, it's going to be 20 episodes again, the way I understand it. So it's going to be a massive chunk of stuff that we have to get through at some point this year. It's only a question of how we're going to do it.
How did the French do it?
Maybe.
Do you know what I'm talking about?
Sorry, I was busy reading Norman's comment. I didn't.
Oh, I asked, is that what the French did? Do you know what I'm referring to?
They watched the episodes.
Oh, so there was basically a French version of like the BBC, I guess. They've already aired all of Prodigy's.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
So that's why I was saying maybe they'll do it like the French.
So I guess the only other question
everyone else.
As long as I don't have to see Picard do that stupid French accent from the first season of Picard ever again. It's such a bad Pepe Le Pew
It's still
thing.
my favorite Star Trek fact that he was supposed to do a French accent and be actually a French captain, and then they heard his French accent and went, no.
Yeah.
Just be British. We're not going to explain it. We're not going to change the character. You're just a British French guy who drinks Earl Grey tea. And then Picard, they have to retcon it. That was so funny.
And then in one episode of TNG, and I forget which one it is, you're going to swear in French once.
Yeah.
I wouldn't have noticed if the subtitles picked it up.
It's from an obscure language known as French, sir.
It's not obscure.
So what Norman said, not even so much about what Norman's saying, but we talked about this last week. Let's revisit it one more time. Do we think Locke is a Breen? It's becoming more and more likely that at the very least we're going to see the Breen.
Zora referenced the Breen. And...
Yeah, when they were looking at the destroyed Federation headquarters, I think they said the Breen did it, right?
They did.
They keep showing all these sweet moments between Maul and Locke, and I am 100% convinced that they're going to die. One of them is going to die. I think it's going to be Locke, but we'll see. I do not think they're going to end this series together and alive, and it makes me sad because they're very cute.
The only reason I would say I think it's going to be Maul is because it gives Book more drama. And there's more of a direct connection between Maul and the crew in general. Because I think some of them think that she may be just being swayed by a bad dude. So I think if anyone of that couple was going to die, I think it would be Maul.
Interesting. Yeah, I can see it going either way. If it's Locke, I think he's going to sacrifice himself to save Maul. And if it's Maul, I think she's either going to do something crazy risky, or she's also going to sacrifice herself to either save him or save Discovery despite her current goals.
Or to save the tech.
Oh, that's interesting.
Yeah, I mean, we've seen that they're more of a gray area. They're just opportunists. They're not necessarily evil. So I could see a small redemption arc from Maul. What I will say is whether or not Locke is Breen, which I think that's a really great theory at this point. We're definitely going to get some kind of limited skirmish with the Breen before the end. And I like how this is built up much better than what Strange New Worlds did last season, where they told us about the Gorn at the end of episode 1, and we did not talk about it or bring it up until we got to the final episode. That kind of bothered me. And I really liked that season, but that didn't work. These little bit of increments with the Breen, every episode we're mentioning, the Breen incursions, I need some help for my planet. And they destroyed the HQ. This is leading somewhere, and I dig that. If it doesn't lead somewhere, that's going to be a problem.
Yeah, set up with no payoff, enraging. Set up with payoff, amazing. Good job.
Neither of which would surprise me in Discovery, but so far they seem to be doing this season justice, and I'm liking it. All right, let's rank this thing. I was thinking a straight 10 coming out of this, and it might be. But yeah, you guys have talked me into there's a couple of problems. There's just enough problems with this that I'm going to give it a 9.5. But wonderful episode. Best episode of Discovery since season 1, easily.
Agreed. Like, this is, I don't know if it's just because it happens to center around time travel, which is something I'm always a little biased towards. But much like, yeah, season 1 in Magic to Make the Saintess Man Go Mad, this is probably going to be one of the few of Discovery whose title I actually remember, as well as what happened in the episode. I hadn't been considering ranking it that high. I don't know if I just thought like a 10, like you gotta hit the stratosphere, but I think I would agree. Solid 9.5.
I think I would give it a 9, which is obviously still a pretty high rating. I really liked the episode. I thought I love a good fractured time episode. Like, it was fun seeing all the different eras. It was fun revisiting some older characters, and it was nice getting to know those characters a little more. I think the thing that for me makes it hard to rate the episode higher is a lot of it just, it's hard to separate the episode from like the feeling of too little too late with a lot of these characters, where it's like, wow, this is a cool character. I would have loved to get to know them in the past 7 years. Great that we're doing it a little bit now, but like I would have liked some more of that. I would have liked like Reese to get an episode, like, okay. So yeah, it's overall really good. I'm still just hung up on like all of these great characters that it feels like we still barely know and will not ever get the chance to like really know.
I'm going to do something unprecedented. I have never done this on the show before. I'm giving it a 10.
Woo!
I can watch this episode when I'm in bed sick, or if I'm in the mood for something funny, or like I can watch this episode for just about any reason. And to me, I know we all have our different ways of like rating these things, but to me, it really is, did I enjoy this episode? And would I watch it again? Because we all, when we're watching an older season of something, like there's a couple episodes you're going to be like, no, I've seen that already. I don't really care. But this one I would not skip, so I'm going to give it a 10.
Hell yeah.
Nice.
Beautiful.
Yeah, when I look at my, rankings of all of Trek that I have, I put this right around number 50 at first, which would be a 10. But it may end up adjusted, because the more we talk about it, the more I see, yeah, it's got a few problems, just enough to keep it out of that solid 10 for me. But yeah, it's right up there. And for Disco in general, which, a lot of people think it's all fucking a 1 or a 0. It's not even Trek. This is awesome.
I think this is the most Trek episode of Discovery. It's the first time. Like, I love Discovery, and I love how it's different from all the other series. But this felt like a Trek episode.
Nice. All right, any final thoughts? Other than it were good.
It were very good.
It were excellent.
I'll be interested to see Rayner next episode. To see if this whole softer side of Rayner sticks.
Yep.
Or, like, as soon as he's out of that situation, he goes back to trying to be the captain.
Yeah, we'll see.
I really hope it sticks. I kind of think it will, because we have, only 6 more episodes to, like, really round him out before we have to say goodbye. So I think it would be a big mistake to, like, have him take a big step back, and we've just finally had him take another big step forward.
And I'm really betting he dies before the end of this anyway.
Yeah, I can see that.
So I don't think we even have a full 6. I would bet he dies in the next to last episode to give us some time to breathe after.
Mm.
Yeah, but at some point before that, I'm betting there's a scene where Michael will have to defer to him because, I don't know, Rainer gonna Rainer.
Or
That's a
Burnham's
good
going to
idea.
fly off the handle and get the crew into a bigger danger than they can really handle, and then having either Rainer stop that from happening, or Rainer's the way they deal with it. Like, if we had a Red Angel situation, I think Rainer would be like, okay, now I'm going to run the show. Yeah, I agree with
Yep.
Grace.
Yep. All right. Well, this has been a lot of fun. This has been a great episode to talk about. Thanks all of you for watching. Thank you guys, my co-hosts, for chiming in here. And it's been fun this week. We'll see you again next week and for about 5 more weeks with this go. So, till then, live long.